I want to talk about a bit more about the feet. Now, with the foot, you've got 26 bones, 33 joints in the foot. You've got a whole other bunch of different tissues, whether it's muscles, ligaments, tendons that are in the foot itself, foot and ankle itself, but also those that attach up or from above attaching into the foot. Now, there's a few different things I wanted to talk about the feet. The first thing is the big toe joint. I think the big toe joint is one of the most important parts of the foot. The foot essentially is what connects you to the ground. And the big toe joint or the big toe is what typically the last thing that leaves the ground when you go and push off, and whether you're walking or running. So it plays a big role in the foot itself. Now the big toe joint, technically when you have your foot flat, you should be able to lift up that big toe up to 60 degrees. And then also the ankle itself, you should be able to dorsiflex or lift that ankle up or the toes up from the floor for about 30 degrees. And I'll explain a little bit more. So in regards to walking itself, you don't necessarily need that much movement, but when you're going up hills and stairs, you need that toe and foot clearance. Try to manage and not trip over. But you need just about that much degree in movement to actually just be able to run and move how you should. And if you're lacking in any of those movements, it's gonna play havoc on the foot and up the chain. So with the big toe joint, like I said, you need about 60 degrees. With the big toe itself, when you are lifting up that big toe, like for example when you are pushing off, it creates a windlass mechanism. And what that means is that when the big toe is extended, so up, it creates tension and it helps create stability and locking of the foot. So then you are able to push off and be efficient in your movement. And when you're lacking in something like that, it does play havoc on that mechanism, and it's going to create more of a sloppy foot, and you're not going to be as efficient. So a lot of people coming through the clinic, whether they have plantar fascia issues or Achilles and calf or anything else that's going on, a lot of them I am seeing with some sort of lacking of the big toe movement, and that's just means that you're not going to create that stability that you need to be able to walk and run and do whatever you need to do. And that big toe, whether it's arthritis or whether you've got an injury or something that's contributing to that, it does play havoc and make the foot unhappy. So with that, there's a few things I want to talk about. One of them is a narrow toe box. Now again, with the big toe joint, when you've got a narrow toe box shoe, which happens to be in a lot of different shoes, not only high heels and dress shoes, but also some joggers as well. They're quite narrow at the toes, and they kind of create like a triangle kind of positioning of the toes. And our foot naturally, and if you look at our ancestors' feet, they're not narrow, they're not a triangle, they're nice and wide. And when you're actually moving, they actually splay, and the joints have to move to be able to get a bit of movement through there, and that's just natural movement. But if you've got something that's really narrow, it's cramping down the toes, you're not letting your foot be able to have that natural movement. When you're stationary, compared to when you're actually moving, the toes splay a little bit and the joints splay a little bit, so they are allowed to get you that movement. And a lot of narrow toe box shoes play havoc on that. Not only with that, you can have things like a bunion. So with the big toe joint, it's a bowing in of the toe or a valgus positioning, creating a big bowing movement on or a bunion on the outside of the toe. That can also be genetics and hereditary type stuff, but also mechanics and footwear plays a massive role. And that just, again, if you're got an inwards bowing of the toe, you're going to have a stiff toe, it's going to be sore, it's going to play havoc, and it's going to change the distribution of force of your foot when you are moving. So rather than being nice and distributed through the forefoot, it's going to be more placed on one certain part of the foot. Now, like I said, that normally it comes through the big toe joint, and it actually causes that toe to splay inwards as well. You can also get something called a Morton's neuroma, which is, it only happens between the first and second toe and the second and third toe. Pretty much just that burning and tingling sensation that some people get. That can happen due to tight shoelaces. It can happen due to narrow toe box shoes, as well as people with high heels tend to get it too because they're loading up that area a lot. And essentially that's just thickening of the tissue around the nerves, and it's playing havoc and making those nerves really unhappy. An example of my footwear that I've been using lately, especially for the last 12 to 18 months, or 12 to 16 months I should say, is wide toe box shoes, and I did spend that time transitioning and strengthening up my feet. I used to wear athletics for 16 years. I was essentially making them weaker, and I never had a plan to get out of them until I flipped that switch and I wanted to make a difference and strengthen up my feet. And some of the shoes that I've been using, for example, is quite a wide toe box. So when you pretty much put the foot on top, And I know it's just an anatomical foot, but essentially, as you can see, there's a lot more movement, a lot more space, allowing the foot to splay and move the way it should to be a bit more efficient rather than cramping them down. And I recently chucked on a pair of my old joggers that didn't have the wide toe box shoes, and even within half an hour my foot was really hurting. I could really feel the difference around my toes, you know, because it just really cramped them down. And you know, a lot of people say, I've got a wide foot. Well, technically everyone has a wide foot. The widest part of the foot's around the MTP joints, or around the toes. That's going to be the widest part of the foot. Some people might overall have a slightly narrower foot than others, but overall feet are wide. They're supposed to be, you know, especially when they are moving, they're supposed to splay and move the way they need to, and that's just a label, you know. So really, you're having something that will allow your foot to move will be better rather than cramping it down, you know, because that can play havoc on not only the toes itself in those kind of conditions, but you know, if you're changing what's going on up here, it's going to affect the rest of the chain. So whether it's going to affect the plantar fascia, Achilles, shin splints, so the medial and lateral tibial stress syndromes, Achilles calf, all that kind of stuff, as well as up in the hips and in the lower back. So being able to have something that's a bit wider is great to be able to provide that bit of movement. And I will be showing, I will be creating another video on the different types of footwear that I've been trialing and doing a bit of research on, just to give a bit of an idea of what shoes that I've been trialing, what I've been using on my strong feet journey. So that, keep an eye out for that one, because I will be doing that. And I'll also be doing a video on the different mobility and strength exercises that I do as well for my feet to help me get from, you know, having a brick-like underperforming foot to having a bit more of a stronger, more performance enhancing kind of foot. And I'll show you what I've been doing in the meantime. The other thing I wanted to talk about is something like a high heel. Now high heels, you know, really any shoe has a heel in it. Like joggers, normal joggers have a bit of a heel in it. Anything that lifts your heel up is essentially a high heel. Obviously there's varying degrees, and I know some women's shoes can have, you know, 8 to 11 centimeters of heel. And obviously as the foot goes up and up and up, it does change the force and load through the foot even more. And it actually shifts the force forward, and rather than having an even distribution through the foot, it just shifts forward, and you end up putting a lot more load through the first, you know, the big toe joint, or around the forefoot region. And again, like I said, that can create that bunion kind of foot. It can create the Morton's neuroma, but it also can create other things too. Like I said, you know, your foot needs to be able to, your toe needs to be able to move and bend that 60 degrees. And if you're in that high heel and you're already in that position, you're not going to get that movement at all. So you're not having a stable foot. You're going to probably end up with plantar fascia issues, because you're not really be able to create that tension and stability, and it's just going to be lacking. You're going to have a sloppy foot, but also you're going to end up with shorter calf muscles as well. If you're up in this position, your knees tend to be a bit bent, and you tend to be arched back a little bit more to compensate for the weight bearing. So rather than, you know, falling over and tripping over, you tend to compensate, and a lot of people tend to have knee bend and an arch back to compensate for that weight shift. And a lot of people end up with short calf muscles. They can end up with back pain, end up with tight hip flexors and all sorts of stuff. So that's one of my pet peeves is high heels, and I try and get as many people as I can to try to avoid the high heels. A little bit of a heels are not too bad, but when you're getting up into, you know, 5, 8, 11 centimeters, and then that's going to play havoc. Especially if, you know, if you want to move, if you want to walk, if you want to run, or if you want to do anything. You know, you need to have a good, efficient foot, and you're not going to have that, you know, because it's not only what you wear through what you're training in, it's also what you're wearing through the day. That's what you're spending most of your time in. You know, if you're going from, you know, 8 to 10 hours of wearing high heels to then getting home at the end of the day and chucking yourself something from a high heel like this into a slightly narrower heel, or smaller heel like your jogger, you know, your body's not going to be able to adapt. You know, you're going from a shortened, tense positions in certain areas to then trying to lengthen the calf muscles, and then trying to get them to push off and do what you need to do to either walk, run, or do whatever you need to do. And your body's going to be unhappy. And I know a lot of people end up with Achilles issues or calf issues or plantar fascia issues in general, even if you're not a runner, because of that reason. So it does change the mechanics of your body for the wrong reasons. Like I said, it does force the weight distribution and more towards the toes, which is what you don't want. You want an even distribution of the foot. But then it changes stuff up the chain as well. You know, I get people coming in with back pain and stuff like that because of what type of footwear they use. Because not only what you use for running or training in, it's what you do throughout the day that makes a huge difference. And lastly, I want to talk about pronation or flat feet. Essentially, flat feet is a label. You know, I've got flat feet. Essentially, it's, you know, you can't change that. You know, really, it's what makes the difference is if you've got strong feet and coordinated feet compared to weak and uncoordinated feet. Like I was saying with that whole stability of the foot with the big toe joint, you know, some people, you know, in normal motion you need a certain amount of pronation and supination to actually push off and move. That's just normal everyday walking mechanics or movement mechanics. You need a certain amount of pronation and supination. Obviously some people might pronate a little bit more than others, and that's just the fact that they don't have that stability and strength in the foot to be able to accommodate for that, to stop themselves from rolling over too much. So that what really makes the difference is if they strengthen their feet and they create more mobility where they need to in the foot if they're stiff, but mainly strength and creating that stability through that foot. So like I said, you do need a certain amount of pronation and supination to actually move. Obviously some have more than others, but that comes down to whether it's strong and coordinated or weak and uncoordinated. And like I said, I will be putting up a video of that. But a flat feet, you know, you've got a high arch or a flat feet. Essentially the flat feet is, you know, someone has a bit more pronated. You know, so when you go to the foot store and you mean, oh, you pronate. Well, you're supposed to pronate. Obviously some just pronate a little bit more than others. And that's okay, as long as if you're aware of that and you accommodate for that by making sure that you strengthen up your feet. You don't necessarily have to go out and get really thick, you know, arch supported through the arch there with some of the shoes that you wear or buy. It just means that you really need to strengthen up your feet. Yeah, that can provide a bit of support and temporary relief, but ideally you want to be able to have your foot doing the work that it needs to do. You want to have the foot strong enough to be able to accommodate for what it needs to do on an everyday basis. So that's really a quick crash course with the foot, and some of the things that I really wanted to talk about that I think are very important with the feet. Like I said, the big toe joint, you know, not only that, but the high heels and the wide and narrow toe box shoes, and the whole thing about flat feet, and the whole idea is to, you know, being able to have strong feet and coordinated feet. If you can get that and have that and work on that, and the mobility at certain parts of the body, especially the foot, you know, it like I said, it reverberates up the chain and it can affect other areas. So if you've got, you know, strong at the foot, you've got a strong base, got a, you know, strong coordinated foot, obviously it's better overall for every other part of the body. Because like I said, if you've got a weak link in the chain somewhere, it's going to affect somewhere else. And if you just treat that side of pain, you know, you're not going to be treating or being mindful and addressing other factors that are actually causing that. And that's what I tend to do with some of my patients, and that's what, you know, that's what I want to try and get out there with the Strong Feet Project as well. You know, being able to, you know, not only follow my own Strong Feet journey and my journey through other, you know, personal and physical challenges, but also a bit of education and stuff as to what I'm doing and why, and how, you know, you might be able to go, you know, follow and start your own Strong Feet journey. Now, I have set up my family have set up some donation pages through the Everyday Hero page in the memory of my dad, Noel Gaudry. Now we've set up pages or donation pages for the Heart Foundation and Street Swag. So if you want to donate to worthy causes, please head to thestrongfeetproject.com or the Strong Feet Project Facebook page and click on the links. Otherwise, you can go to the Everyday Hero page and type in Noel Gaudry, and 2 pages will pop up on that. I really would appreciate any support through that to try and help others in need and try and prevent others from going through the same heartache as my family have, and really create a bit more of an awareness about these kind of things. So if you want to donate to worthy causes, please head to that and donate. If you want more, you know, videos and educational articles and all that kind of stuff, I will be posting up more as we go along, more episodes through the Strong Feet Project, but you can also head to my business page, Spy Health and Rehabilitation, and then you can click on different articles and videos that I've posted up through there as well. So thanks for watching, guys. I look forward to continuing to share my own Strong Feet journey, and hopefully I can inspire you to start your own. Thanks.